Vitamin K2, the navigator that guides calcium the right way. Did you know? We often talk about aging as something that makes the body slower, weaker, less flexible. But few realize this. What makes your legs feel tired isn't always age itself. Sometimes it's because minerals go the wrong way. I'm not saying this to alarm you, but to share with you the story of a little-known vitamin that quietly preserves the vitality of your legs. Every single day, vitamin K2. I once had a patient named Richard, 70 years old, a retired construction engineer. He didn't smoke, his diet wasn't bad, and he still kept his habit of short morning walks. But recently, he began to notice his legs felt colder than usual, often stiff, especially at night. Cramps came more frequently, even when he was just resting. After some blood flow tests and examinations, we discovered something important. Calcium was depositing in the walls of his blood vessels, blocking circulation, preventing blood from reaching his legs evenly, and his muscles were being quietly starved. You see, calcium isn't always your best friend. We're often told to supplement calcium to keep bones strong, especially after 50. That's true. But if calcium isn't guided properly, it may never reach your bones. Instead, it can cling to your blood vessel walls, causing stiffness, blocking circulation, and eventually leading to cramps, pain, and even a higher risk of falls. And this is where vitamin K2 steps in. I want you to imagine this. Calcium is like bricks. Vitamin D is the worker carrying the bricks to the building site. But vitamin K2, it's the chief engineer, deciding where those bricks are placed, in your bones or in your blood vessels. Without K2, calcium can go astray. And when it builds up in the wrong places, especially in your legs, it can leave you with cold feet, muscle stiffness, sudden night cramps, or even numb toes. The sad truth is, vitamin K2 is not common in the modern diet. It's found in natto, the Japanese fermented soybean dish, certain aged cheeses, free-range egg yolks, chicken liver, and dairy products from grass-fed cows. But how many of us eat those foods every day? That's why so many older adults silently lack K2 without ever knowing it. For Richard, one suggested a few simple changes. Take a daily K to supplement the MK7 form, which absorbs more easily. Add a little Gouda cheese to lunch, and combine vitamin K2 with D3. So calcium travels exactly where it needs to go. After about 3 weeks, he came back and said, "Doctor, my feet no longer feel icy cold at night. I still can't believe one small vitamin helped me walk with such lightness again." The truth is, not everyone needs medicine, but everyone needs to listen to their body. If you're struggling with persistent cramps, heavy legs, numb toes, or simply a loss of confidence with each step, you may be missing the one true navigator of calcium, vitamin K2. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What others do to us is not as dangerous as what we allow them to do within our own minds." And that is the key. When you realize someone is trying to create distance between you and the people you love, you don't need to get angry. You don't need to knock on every door to explain yourself or to demand justice. You only need to do 3 things. Observe consistency. If someone is constantly forwarding information about you, pay attention. Speak directly. If someone changes the way they treat you, don't guess. Ask directly, gently, honestly. Hold your identity firm. Don't let rumors change how you behave. Because when you continue to live as yourself, in the long run, the truth will reveal itself. I know, for those of us who are adults, who have lived, loved, and been hurt, The deepest pain isn't being hated, but being misunderstood in silence. But listen, silence is not weakness. In Stoic philosophy, timely silence is a form of strength. It is knowing that your inner peace matters more than any rumor. So, if you feel isolated, if you suspect someone is redrawing your image behind your back, trust your own intuition, not to seek revenge, not to expose anyone, but to know where your boundaries are and where your trust must be re-anchored. You don't need to scream to defend your reputation. You only need to live true, live fully, and live uprightly with yourself. Because in the end, truth doesn't need to be shouted. It only needs to be lived. Point 2. They copy you to outshine you. Not talking about the natural kind of inspiration. Between friends when you wear a nice outfit, and a few weeks later you see your close friend wearing something similar, and both of you laugh. Looks like we're on the same wavelength. No, this isn't that. I'm talking about a kind of copying that is deliberate, strategic, and most importantly, laced with quiet envy. I remember a middle-aged woman who once came to see me on a bright June afternoon. She was an art teacher who deeply loved her work. She told me about a new colleague who began asking her a lot of questions about how she designed her lessons, how she managed her classroom, how she used color to inspire her students. At first, she was delighted. She thought she was being admired. But months later, she began to realize that colleague was copying her teaching style exactly, then turning around and telling the principal it was her own method. Soon, that colleague stood out more, received more praise, and was chosen to represent the school at a statewide teachers' conference. And this woman who had shared all her secrets so openly now stood on the sidelines, watching her own reflection being celebrated, while no one remembered her name. Have you ever experienced something like that? The feeling of being erased from what you yourself created. It is a painfully quiet kind of wound, because you can't really accuse someone just for doing the same thing. They can tweak a few details, give a small laugh, and say, "Oh, it's just a coincidence." But you know you can feel that it is no coincidence. They are trying to become you, but better than you. Stoic philosophy takes a very practical view of this. Epictetus once said, "If you want true progress, be willing to be seen as foolish by those who envy you." Because do you know what cannot be copied? Essence, core, truth. Someone can imitate how you dress, how you speak, even how you write or manage your work. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What others do to us is not as dangerous as what we allow them to do within our own minds." And that is the key. When you realize someone is trying to create distance between you and the people you love, you don't need to get angry. You don't need to knock on every door to explain yourself or to demand justice. You only need to do 3 things. Observe consistency. If someone is constantly forwarding information about you, pay attention, speak directly. If someone changes the way they treat you, don't guess. Ask directly, gently, honestly. Hold your identity firm. Don't let rumors change how you behave. Because when you continue to live as yourself, in the long run, the truth will reveal itself. I know. For those of us who are adults, who have lived, loved, and been hurt, the deepest pain isn't being hated, but being misunderstood in silence. But listen, silence is not weakness. In Stoic philosophy, timely silence is a form of strength. It is knowing that your inner peace matters more than any rumor. So, if you feel isolated, if you suspect someone is redrawing your image behind your back, trust your own intuition, not to seek revenge, not to expose anyone, but to know where your boundaries are and where your trust must be re-anchored. You don't need to scream to defend your reputation. You only need to live true, live fully, and live uprightly with yourself. Because in the end, truth doesn't need to be shouted. It only needs to be lived. Point 2. They copy you to outshine Uwim, not talking about the natural kind of inspiration between friends when you wear a nice outfit, and a few weeks later you see your close friend wearing something similar, and both of you laugh. Looks like we're on the same wavelength. No, this isn't that. I'm talking about a kind of copying that is deliberate, strategic, and most importantly, laced with quiet envy. I remember a middle-aged woman who once came to see me on a bright June afternoon. She was an art teacher who deeply loved her work. She told me about a new colleague who began asking her a lot of questions about how she designed her lessons, how she managed her classroom, how she used color to inspire her students. At first, she was delighted. She thought she was being admired, but months later, she began to realize that colleague was copying her teaching style exactly, then turning around and telling the principal it was her own method. Soon, that colleague stood out more, received more praise, and was chosen to represent the school at a statewide teachers' conference. And this woman, who had shared all her secrets so openly, now stood on the sidelines, watching her own reflection being celebrated, while no one remembered her name. Have you ever experienced something like that? The feeling of being erased from what you yourself created. It is a painfully quiet kind of wound, because you can't really accuse someone just for doing the same thing. They can tweak a few details, give a small laugh, and say, "Oh, it's just a coincidence." But you can feel that it is no coincidence. They are trying to become you, but better than you. Stoic philosophy takes a very practical view of this. Epictetus once said, "If you want true progress, be willing to be seen as foolish by those who envy you. Because do you know what cannot be copied? Essence, core, truth. Someone can imitate how you dress, how you speak, even how you write or manage your work. But they cannot copy the reason you do what you do. They don't have the heart. They don't have the lived experiences behind those choices. And that is what creates true value." I once told a client this: don't chase after others to prove. You are the original. The original doesn't need to shout. It only needs to live true to itself. If someone copies you and then tries to outshine you, don't enter their race. That's the track they designed to win. Instead, take the path that only you can walk. The path they cannot imitate, because they don't have the soul behind what you do. I tell you this, not so that you become suspicious of everyone. No, I share it so you can recognize it, so you won't be wounded further when the truth eventually shows itself. If someone steps into your life with eyes that are too curious, with constant questions about you, but at the same time quietly undermines you in other conversations, that is not admiration. That is a theft in disguise. Stoic philosophy does not tell us to run away, nor to attack. It tells us to master our reactions. We cannot control whether others copy us or try to outshine us, but we can control whether we allow that to define us. You don't need to scream, "I came up with this idea first." You only need to keep creating the next ideas others cannot keep up with. You don't need to prove you are the original. You only need to keep living as a person of depth, something no one can imitate. 3. They react positively when misfortune strikes. You still with me? Thank you. Because what I'm about to share isn't easy to hear, but it's a truth that needs to be spoken. So we stop blaming ourselves for being too sensitive to cold glances. I want you to recall the last time you faced something painful, maybe losing your job, being misunderstood, or hitting a major setback in life. You shared it with someone. They nodded, offered words of sympathy. They asked questions. They were there, but you sensed something wasn't real. Their eyes lit up just slightly, in a way that felt unsettling. They wanted more details, not to help, but as if they were savoring it. You left that conversation feeling emptier than before you shared. Have you ever felt that? If so, then you've encountered a very particular type of person. They don't push you down, but they like to watch you fall. They don't shove you into the pit, but once you're down there, they lean over. With a smile, they quickly try to hide. In Stoic philosophy, this is what we call finding joy in another's pain. Modern psychology has studied it too. The Germans gave it a word, Schadenfreude, the hidden delight in someone else's failure. I once worked with a man, 47 years old, formerly a creative director. After a company restructuring, he was laid off. What hurt him most wasn't losing the job itself, but the reaction of a close colleague, someone who had always been full of praise for him. That colleague sent him a message. "I'm so sorry, but honestly, I saw this coming a long time ago. Maybe it's time you took a break." And the man said to me, "It felt like I didn't just lose my job. I lost my faith in kindness." Do you recognize this? The most heartbreaking story is not when someone hurts you openly. It's when they hide their delight beneath the mask of compassion. They don't speak it aloud, but their eyes, their questions, their tone carry a strange energy, as if your pain is their source of strength. And then you begin to notice when you share good news, they leave your message unseen, without a word. When you share bad news, they reply instantly, eagerly, concerned, asking for every detail. You can't explain why, but you feel like your life has become their entertainment. Stoicism does not teach us to confront or to expose people. It teaches us to listen to our hearts and to act with calmness. Marcus Aurelius once said, "We are not harmed by what others do, but by how we allow it to enter our minds." You don't need confrontation. You don't need to cut ties immediately. But you must know who genuinely wants your happiness, and who is only waiting for the moment you fall so they can feel superior. You must save your joy for those who cherish it, and you must keep your sorrow for those who can truly empathize, not judge. If someone makes you feel smaller every time you share your struggles, that's not you being too sensitive. That's your intuition doing its job. Trust that. Feeling, step back. Hold your pain the way you would hold a fragile flower. Don't hand it to someone who will trample it. You don't need to explain why you avoid people who leave you weaker after every conversation. You only need to continue living with your own light, so that genuine kindness will be seen, and those who live only by envy will sink into the darkness they've chosen. For every interaction with them leaves you drained. You're working in a team. On the surface, everything seems fine. No one is openly against you. No one is gossiping outright. In fact, there's even one person who seems very supportive. They send you reminders about deadlines, ask if you need help, smile warmly whenever you present ideas in a meeting. But strangely, the important email you needed, they forgot to send it. The data they were responsible for, somehow it got lost. The private story you shared, it somehow accidentally spread to everyone else. You begin to feel that something isn't right, but there's no clear proof, nothing big enough to accuse anyone of. I once spoke with a client, a woman in her late 40s, a team leader in a non-profit organization. She told me that for more than a year, one of her subordinates always volunteered to help her. At first, she was grateful because that person always seemed to be there when she needed support. But slowly, little mistakes began to happen. Small errors that disrupted her plans, one after another. The emails were sent to the wrong people. The documents had key details mysteriously altered. She was criticized for missing information, even though she had prepared everything completely from the start. And, in the end, when her superiors began to question her competence, that same colleague stepped in to take responsibility and help, and was promoted. She looked at me with sorrow in her eyes and said, "I never thought the one who caused my downfall would be the very person who once said they wanted to help me succeed." That is the essence of silent but intentional hatred. It isn't explosive anger. It isn't open hostility. It is a quiet, persistent campaign, carefully disguised as kindness. They don't destroy you with one strong blow. They just tap and tap and tap, small strikes, day after day, until the credibility, reputation, and trust you've built for years crumble like plaster peeling off an old wall. Stoicism is not only a philosophy of the inner life, it is also the art of observation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Sometimes what hurts you most is not the blow itself, but your refusal to notice the signs that it is coming." So what are the signs that someone is secretly undermining you? It's not the people who oppose you openly. They at least give you the chance to engage, to debate. It's the ones who always agree with you in public, but quietly redirect the story behind the scenes. Always ask what you need, then forget at just the right moment. Always show up when you fail, but disappear whenever you're about to succeed. I know for those of us who are grown, who have invested trust, opened our hearts, and treated others as companions, this kind of hidden betrayal is even more painful than direct attacks, because you didn't just lose an opportunity, you lost a piece of your faith in human integrity. But let me share this, something I've learned from hundreds of counseling sessions, from decades of observation. A person of true worth does not need to prove themselves. They only need to outlast the falsehood. So if you sense that someone is sabotaging you in the shadows, don't react too quickly. Don't fall into the emotional trap, because that is exactly what they want. For you to lose control so they can say you are unstable. Instead, do this: limit what you share with them. Keep quiet notes. Gather silent evidence. Build your credibility on things no one can deny, clear results, lasting value. And above all, remember, kindness never needs to rush, but truth, once revealed, always endures longer than any scheme. 5. They quietly sabotage your success. I want you to do something small right now. Close your eyes for a few seconds and recall the name of a person who, every time you finish talking with them, leaves you feeling tired, and you don't even know why. There are no arguments, no insults, no words that cross the line, and yet you walk away from the conversation with a sense of relief that it's over. A vague feeling that you had to perform a little, guard yourself a little, and adjust yourself a little just to avoid being hurt by what seemed like harmless remarks. Have you ever felt that way? I ask this because I have worked with so many people in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, people who have endured illness, loss, broken careers, and they've told me, I can survive life's big storms, but what I cannot bear is the quiet exhaustion from a draining relationship. The scariest thing about those who secretly hate you deep inside is that they don't need to say anything cruel to wound you. All they need to do is show up carrying that vague, heavy, insincere energy. I once witnessed this in a patient of mine. Let's call her Eleanor, a gentle, calm 56-year-old woman. She had an old friend who was always there, always texting, weekly, always inviting her out for coffee. But strangely, after every meeting, Eleanor went home with an unshakable sadness. Nothing was overtly wrong, but phrases like, "Well, that's good enough for your age. I'm surprised you even dared to try that. You still feel confident working again." They were tiny like grains of sand, but over time, they piled up into stones that weighed on her trust and her self-respect. I call these soft blows. They don't leave bruises on the outside, but they leave a slip, a crack on the inside, making you doubt yourself, speak less, dream smaller, and shrink back into the shell of caution. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And when every encounter with someone leaves you walking away painted gray and cold inside, that is no coincidence anymore. Here is what I want you to remember. Every person we allow into our lives carries a certain energy, and you have the right to choose to keep those who make you feel lighter and to step back from those who leave you weary. You don't need clear evidence to adjust your distance. You don't need to wait for someone to do something terrible before you retreat. That constant feeling of exhaustion is already the quietest yet most accurate warning sign. So what should you do? You don't need to block them or give a long explanation. You only need to ask yourself after each meeting, do I feel like myself when I'm around them? After talking to them, do I feel lifted up or dragged down? If your answer leans toward fatigue, self-doubt, or feeling less like yourself, then you already have enough reason to create safe spaces for your peace. And most importantly, remember this: you never need to continue any relationship that demands you sacrifice your inner peace. Constantly bringing up your past to hold back your growth. Let me tell you a short story. There was a man named Thomas, about 53 years old. In his younger days, he struggled with alcoholism, a past he wasn't proud of, but one he had overcome. For 12 years, he hadn't touched a single drop. Now, he works as a counselor helping others recover from addiction. But every family gathering, there was always that one cousin who would stand up and joke, "Better keep Thomas away from the beer." Everyone laughed. It seemed harmless, but after each time, Thomas grew quieter. He once told me, "I've done enough to prove I'm no longer that man, but to them, I'll always be my past." Have you ever been like Thomas? You've worked hard to change yourself, to grow, to heal, to learn, to rise beyond your wounds. But there's always someone who keeps reminding you of who you used to be, as if you don't deserve to move forward. This is one of the most subtle forms of hidden hatred, disguised as fond memories or just being honest. They don't attack you, they just remind you. But they remind you with the intent of keeping you where you are, so you don't rise further, grow taller, or succeed beyond them. In Stoic philosophy, there is a beautiful principle. A man is never limited by his past mistakes unless he allows others to define him by them. Do you understand what this means? It's not your mistakes that bind you. It's the act of letting others use those mistakes to control how you see yourself in the present. I've witnessed this so often in family relationships, especially among old friends, or those who saw us at the lowest point of our lives. When you begin to exercise regularly, learn something new, open yourself to new opportunities, they joke, you stick with that, really, with your temper. who could keep up with you. Now you're trying to act deep. You weren't like that before. You laugh along, but inside you shrink. You hesitate to try again. You hesitate to step forward. And just like that, you fall back into the mold they built for you long ago. Do you know what that means? They don't need to drag you down. They only need to keep you from moving forward. And the danger is, the longer you stay around them, the more you start to believe that your old self is the only version you can ever be now. I'm not saying everyone who brings up your past has bad intentions. Not everyone hates you, but there are people who, when you start improving, feel like you're leaving them behind. And they don't want that. Not because they are evil, but because your growth forces them to look at their own stagnation. And to avoid change, they want to keep you where you were. I once told one of my patients this. If people don't allow you the right to become a new person, then you have the right not to let them enter your new life. You don't owe anyone loyalty to your flawed past self. You don't need to apologize for growing, for living better, for being disciplined, for learning to love yourself more. You have the right to grow without asking for permission. And if someone keeps bringing up your old mistakes, whether as a joke, just for fun, or out of concern, then perhaps it's time you rise within yourself and respond. With the silence of self-respect. 5. They avoid you when you succeed, but coincidentally appear when you fail. Let me ask you something very personal. Do you find yourself mentally preparing before meeting a certain person? I'm not talking about the good kind of nervousness, like meeting someone you admire. I'm talking about the kind of preparation you make because you know something off will happen. You choose your words more carefully. You avoid certain topics. You control every expression because you're used to even the smallest detail being twisted or later used against you. I once had a patient. Her name was Lorraine. In her early 60s, a woman who had been a teacher for 35 years. She told me that every time she went out for lunch with an old friend, she felt anxious beforehand and exhausted afterward. Not because that friend openly criticized her, not because anything dramatic happened, but because of little phrases like, "Oh, so you live alone now." I've heard retired people get lonely pretty quickly. I guess your old students don't remember you anymore, do they? All spoken with a tone of concern. But Lorraine knew those were tiny needles, sharp enough to pierce through the calm she had worked so hard to maintain. Have you ever met someone like that? Someone who, just by sitting next to them and listening, makes you feel like you need to brace yourself, to protect your spirit. The sad truth is, many people live their whole lives in such relationships without realizing it, or convincing themselves with excuses like, "Maybe I'm just being sensitive." Never mind, not everyone is good with words. But no, that is not you being too sensitive. That is your body sending a warning. That is your intuition doing exactly what it was meant to do. There's a Stoic idea that I deeply love. We don't need evidence to respect our own feelings. You don't need recordings, journals, or witnesses to justify trusting the vague unease someone brings into your life. And here's what you must remember. Not only the rude can harm you, some people use politeness as a mask, injecting you, drop by drop, with doubt and subtle diminishment. The longer you stay around them, the more you begin to speak less, hold back more, distrust your own emotions, and live as if you must play a role just to make sure they're not bothered. I once told a client, if you have to strain yourself just to hold on to that relationship, then perhaps that relationship was never meant to hold you. You don't need to keep maintaining a connection that leaves you drained. You don't. need to pretend to be pleasant just so others can feel comfortable. You have the right to choose lightness over politeness, freedom over performance, truth over the illusion of safety. If you're still watching this, chances are you've experienced at least one of the things I just shared. Maybe you once stayed silent when you were misunderstood. Maybe you smiled through a hurtful joke. Maybe you thought you were just being too sensitive until you started losing faith in yourself. But today, I want to remind you of this. Your feelings have value. Your intuition is not wrong. And your peace does not need anyone's permission to be preserved. If the things I've said in this series of videos have given you comfort, understanding, or helped you notice something you once overlooked, then please hit subscribe. Because I need more followers, but because I want to walk alongside people like you, those who are learning to live awake, steady, and full of self-respect. Here, we do not judge, we only listen and grow together. I'll see you in the next videos, and I wish you peace in the truest sense of the word.